Small children will love Blinky Bill, the movie. It's an animated comedy and it's very family friendly. It's also quite fast paced, so children even as young as 2 or 3 should have no trouble staying through the film for the entire duration. It's a comedy, so it's a good laugh, and there's a few jokes in there that adults will appreciate as well that will probably go over the kids' heads, but you will get a giggle out of. It's a very family friendly, very accessible movie, so feel free to take the whole family to that one. Likewise, Oddball, again, very family friendly, and it's based on a true story, an amazing true story about a dog who came to save a penguin population. So there are some beautiful themes in this film. There's, conservation and the environment and the care and protection of animals. It really is a wonderful film. There's a tiny bit of violence in the film. For example, there's a couple of accidents with tranquilizer guns and darts and a little bit of intoxication that follows on from that. There's a bit of wine consumed, but there's no drugs or swearing, no bad language, and certainly no sex and nudity. So again, very family friendly. Absolutely take the whole family to that one. Next up is Pan. Pan is based on the story of Peter Pan. In fact, it's presented as a prequel, but it doesn't really have the fairy tale kind of, comic sense that we're familiar with the tale. This one focuses very much on the adventure side of Peter Pan. It takes itself very seriously. So therefore, it's actually quite dark. It doesn't have that kind of humour. It's not sort of fun and light-hearted. It takes itself very seriously. So there's a lot of heavy combat and battle sequences. There's references to World War II and the Blitz. There's also, some adult concepts such as, giving up a child for adoption or abandoning a child in an orphanage and that kind of stuff. Like it's a lovely film. It's a great film, but I'm thinking for viewers, maybe small children might get a little bit lost. A lot of the framing is very much in close-up, and the film also uses very fast editing at times. So smaller kids might have trouble keeping up with the narrative and the pace of the film. The performances are great, particularly Hugh Jackman as Blackbeard and Levi Miller as Pan, who is just breathtaking. So if you do go and see it, just be aware that, some smaller kids might kind of lose interest. Next up is Pixels. Now, this is a really curious film. The concept is very child-friendly. It's about video arcade gaming characters which come down to Earth and invade. So it's heaps of fun. The animation's fantastic, and there's some really good fun concepts with this film. The problem is there's some very adult themes in the film. There's quite heavy sexual references and references to drugs, and that kind of thing. There's also a fair bit of swearing in the film. The S word in particular is used quite liberally. So it's kind of weird, and that's very child friendly but has these adult themes. So if you do take your children, yeah, sure, they'll probably have fun, but you can expect some kind of rather unusual questions maybe in the car on the way home. Stuff like, why does that man want so badly to get those 2 famous women into his hotel room? For the teenage young adult audience, there's Maze Runner: The SCORCH Trials. Again, no sex, no nudity, no offensive language or very little kind of bad language in the film. There is a lot of violence though. It's very combat heavy, very battle heavy, lots of shooting in this film. There's a few deaths and things like that. But the big thing about this film to be aware of is the cranks. Now, these are zombie-like creatures and they're really quite scary. Even me as a horror fan, when these things ran at the camera for the first time, I kind of felt it. I freaked out a little bit. They're gross and they're very aggressive. So you do get the sense of tension and fear when they come at you. They're very unpleasant creatures. So if you're prone to nightmares or just don't like creepy creatures, you might want to keep away from those cranks. Also rated M is Everest. Now, it's not targeted at children in any way, but it's surprisingly, the content is kind of kid-friendly. So there's no violence or sex or nudity or drug use and no bad language in the film. So there's no issues there. The reason it's rated M is for mature themes, and those are specifically death and dying and survival. So it's based on a true story, and it's quite a harrowing true story what these people go through. Some survive, some don't. So that's really where the rating lies. So if you are going to take a child, and I'm thinking really age 13, 14 plus, then just be aware it might be quite a breathless experience for them. And so there could be a bit of chatter afterwards about the idea of climbing Mount Everest and the dangers of doing such a thing, and also issues about survival and things like that. For adults, there's heaps of choice these school holidays if you want to get away from the kid crowd for a little while. There's still great comedies out there. There's Vacation and Trainwreck. The Intern is also opening soon, which is great for a laugh, particularly for older audiences. It's really good fun. Walk in the Woods is still showing. There's also Southpaw, and if you're a music fan, then Straight Outta Compton I couldn't recommend highly enough. If you're a horror fan, then The Visit is an absolute must-see. But my recommendation, and I actually think this is one of the best films I've seen all year, is Sicario. As long as you don't mind a little bit of, well, a lot of brutal blood and violence, then I'd say this film is for you.